So what does an old-school ghost story have to do with a one-star hotel review? I know, it sounds kind of weird, right? But believe me, there is this incredible, powerful link between ancient folklore and, well, the everyday problems modern businesses are facing. We're going to get into it.
Okay, so picture this. Right now, in places like Malaysia and all over Southeast Asia, millions of people are literally tuning into podcasts. Not for the news, not for comedy, but to get absolutely terrified by so-called true stories about ghosts and hauntings. And this isn't some tiny subculture, you guys. It's a massive phenomenon. But here's the kicker. What happens when that human need to tell a scary story escapes the supernatural and starts haunting the world of business?
All right, here's the plan. We're going to start with this modern campfire of horror podcasts. Then we'll dig into the roots of Malaysian folklore to see where these fears come from. After that, we'll look at the real psychological price of all this fear. And then the big twist. We'll connect it all to a new kind of ghost that's haunting businesses. And finally, how they try to exorcise a bad review.
So first up, let's just talk about the sheer scale of this. The boom in horror podcasts and YouTube channels in Malaysia, I mean, it's a total renaissance. It's basically taken that old tradition of telling scary stories around a campfire and just plugged it straight into our earbuds.
And the numbers, they are absolutely staggering. I mean, you've got channels like Malam Saram with over 300,000 subscribers, Ashraf channel pushing 600,000. These storytellers have these huge captive audiences just by tapping into this really deep cultural fascination with the unseen world. So that begs the question, where are these stories even coming from?
Yeah, to really get what's going on, you have to look back at the source material. These modern podcasts, they're basically remixes of centuries of folklore, which is just packed with this incredible cast of supernatural characters.
Okay, so let's meet one of the big players, the Hantu Raya. It literally translates to the Great Ghost. And this isn't your average spooky spirit. In the old stories, this was a seriously powerful entity that would make a pact, like a contract, with a human master. Think of it as a supernatural freelancer, maybe.
And the Hantu Raya's resume, its toolkit, was basically this supernatural deal. It could shapeshift, right? So it could look exactly like its owner, the perfect alibi. It had superhuman strength for things like clearing land, and it acted as a totally loyal guardian. But, and this is the important part, it had to be paid. It demanded these specific ritual offerings. So it was a transaction, a pact with this incredibly powerful and, yeah, potentially really dangerous force.
Okay, but here's the thing. Listening to these stories, whether they're ancient myths or modern podcasts, isn't just some harmless fun. It actually comes with a real psychological cost. It shapes how people, especially young people, see the world around them.
And just how real is this effect? Get this. A study found that a whopping 87% of young people in Malaysia say they feel fear or dread when they're alone in a creepy place at night. 87%. So yeah, these are way more than just stories. They have a real, tangible, emotional kick.
So why is this such a big deal? Well, if you look at something like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that pyramid of human motivation, fear hits us right at the foundation. It attacks our fundamental need for safety. And when that's shaky, it's almost impossible to build up self-esteem, make connections, or, become your best self. Fear literally keeps you stuck on the bottom rungs of the ladder.
And this constant state of fear leads to some very real consequences that researchers have pointed out. We're talking more emotional distress, lower self-confidence, needing to depend on other people just to feel secure, and even a drift towards negative or irrational thinking. It really shows how a ghost in a story can become a very real ghost inside your own head.
Okay, so we've established just how powerful a scary story can be, right? Now, we're going to take a sharp turn, because in our world, in the 21st century, there's a whole new kind of ghost story, and this one doesn't haunt houses, it haunts businesses.
Yeah, think about it for a second. The scariest stories being told today, they aren't always about shadowy figures in the dark anymore.
They're about bad service. That's it. Negative word of mouth, that is the new ghost story. It's a tale of a horrible experience, and it gets passed from person to person, haunting a business's reputation, scaring off anyone who might want to come near. It is a modern-day haunting, and it's broadcast to the entire world on social media.
And the data, wow, the data really backs this up. Look at this. A positive experience, it generates almost no negative chatter, like a score of 1.5. But a bad experience, that number rockets up to almost 4. And here's the really fascinating part. Even if the business fixes the problem, a satisfactory recovery, the score is still over 3. The memory, the ghost of that bad service, it just hangs around.
So if a bad review is the ghost, how does a business perform an exorcism, right? How do they fight back when their reputation is being haunted? Well, the answer seems to lie in what's called the theory of justice. It basically breaks down the exorcism into 3 key parts. First, you've got distributive justice. Was the final outcome fair? Did I get a refund or a discount? Then there's procedural justice. Was the whole process fair and quick? And finally, interactional justice. Was I treated like a human being with respect and empathy? If a business wants to successfully banish that bad experience, it has to nail all 3.
So who are these modern-day ghost hunters? Well, a front desk manager really hit the nail on the head with this quote. The front desk is the central hub of the hotel. We have the power to influence the quality of that experience. They're the ones right there on the front lines. They can either create the ghost story or be the one to banish it.
So, when you boil it all down, fixing a customer's problem isn't just about solving a problem. It's about rewriting the story. It's about taking a horror story that a customer is dying to tell everyone and turning it into a story of redemption. A story where the business actually becomes the hero.
And that really leaves us with one final thought. In today's hyper-connected world, what's actually scarier? A ghost that might haunt an old house, or a 1-star review that can haunt a business online forever? I'll let you think about that one.